Yesterday, when the news broke that Disney reached an agreement with Jimmy Kimmel to bring him back to air, that is at the time we're recording this tonight, I assumed that in those conversations, Nexstar and Sinclair, the affiliate stations that initially decided not to air Jimmy Kimmel Live, were involved. I thought they were on board with the decision and everything was going to go back to normal because, right, nothing ever happens, nothing ever changes.
Nothing ever changes. Stuff happens, nothing changes.
That was not the case. I was wrong to assume that because now, as of last night and today, both Sinclair and Nexstar have announced that they are planning to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight. There is a statement from Sinclair. Beginning Tuesday night, Sinclair will be preempting Jimmy Kimmel Live across our ABC affiliate stations and replacing it with news programming. Discussions with ABC are ongoing as we evaluate the show's potential return. And Nexstar followed it up with their own announcement. Nexstar today announced that the company's owned and partner television stations affiliated with the ABC TV network will continue to preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live. We made a decision last week to preempt Jimmy Kimmel following what ABC referred to as Kimmel's ill-timed and insensitive comments at a critical time in our national discourse. We stand by that decision pending assurance that all parties are committed to fostering an environment of respectful, constructive dialogue in the markets we serve. In the meantime, we note that Jimmy Kimmel Live will be available nationwide on multiple Disney-owned streaming products, while our stations will focus on continuing to produce local news and other programming relevant to their respective markets. So they have stood in solidarity against Disney, really.
Yes.
Not really against Jimmy Kimmel himself.
If you're wondering what this equals out to, between Nexstar and Sinclair, they equal out to about 70 affiliate stations, 70 different channels. And that's about, according to WDW Pro, it will equal out to about 40% of the stations that actually air Jimmy Kimmel, of the stations, which is about 200 affiliates that air Jimmy Kimmel Live. And that's a lot. And that could equal out to a lot of lost revenue for these. And Brendan Carr has since made his thoughts on this heard. If you don't know who Brendan Carr is, he is the head of the FCC. He said this in response to Senator Scott Wiener. I will make no joke.
Great name. Still have a career in politics with that last name.
That he ran against a guy with the last name Epstein.
And lost, yes. Scott Wiener says, can't wait to, but he's a senator in California. He says, can't wait to break Sinclair up. Corporate media consolidation doesn't jibe with democracy. Although Sinclair isn't a fan of democracy, most people are. Here's what Brendan Carr says. He says, on Kimmel, the Democrats are enraged in nothing more than projection and distortion. Projection because Democrats are the ones that spent years illegally weaponizing government to silent dissent. It is the Democrats that will do it all again, as they are openly telling you to do today. Distortion because Democrats want to blame anything other than Disney and their local TV stations for Kimmel's suspension. Those businesses decided that, in their view, a suspension made sense. The reporting on this is clear. Notably, this is the first time recently that any local TV stations have pushed back on a national programmer like Disney, and that is a good thing because we want empowered local TV stations. After all, local TV stations, not the national programmers, have public interest obligations, and they should be making decisions that, in their view, meets the needs of their local communities. I walked through all of this with my Concordia remarks yesterday, which are posted below. And then there was actually follow-up to that in which Senator Scott Wiener, again, says Trump's unqualified hack FCC chairman. Democrats are the ones silencing free speech, and to stop them, we need to let MAGA corporations silence criticisms of the right. Do you hear yourselves? Break up Sinclair. He says, Democrats just keep digging themselves a deeper and deeper hole on Kimmel. They simply can't stand that local TV stations, for the first time in years, stood up to a national programmer and chose to exercise their lawful right to preempt programming. We need to keep empowering local TV stations to serve the communities they license. Now, I just want to add, I would have actually bought for a while that there was a reasonable argument to be made that it would be likely to be suspicious of Nexstar, who was in the process of purchasing a company called Tegna, which owns a bunch of other television stations, which would increase their market cap in the industry. But it's not just Nexstar that's doing this. It is Sinclair as well. It also does not incorporate the fact that ABC affiliates were contacting Disney last week, citing anger from the sponsors and the ads, the people buying ads on their stations. And it doesn't include the fact that Kimmel was given a chance to talk about this, and he didn't want to talk about it. All of that was done before Disney pulled the plug on him. Mm-hmm. Okay?
But they had discussions with Kimmel.
Yes.
Without these affiliate stations involved.
And Carr called ownership caps, meaning like the caps that a station can have, like the cap that a company like Sinclair can have on the market. He called them arcane and artificial. Say what you want about monopolies. That's a whole nother discussion. But I've yet to see any proof. There is no memo sent from the FCC telling them to shut it down, all of this stuff. People have just merely run with their narrative and then gone.
Are they really trying to argue that these affiliate stations are MAGA?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
They just live in a different
They
reality
do.
from the rest of us.
And look, Tim has his own perspective on this. Tim thinks that terrorism may be the reason that Disney wanted to bring back Kimmel. Right? He was saying that there was a shooting at a Sacramento. Was it a Sinclair affiliate or was it a Nexstar?
It was an
affiliate?
ABC affiliate.
I'm sorry, an ABC affiliate in Sacramento.
Yeah.
And that person left a note citing Trump, Epstein, Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and others as a reason, saying like they're next.
Thankfully,
right?
He didn't end up killing anyone, but they say there's circumstantial evidence that the shooter, Anibal Hernandez Santana, 64, we've got a boomer, had a political motive behind the shooting on Friday. There are indications that the motive was political in kind. We're looking and investigating the case. He chose a particular target with the notes he left behind and the recent dismissal of the Jimmy Kimmel show. I think there's circumstantial evidence to show this was a politically motivated crime.
Yeah. Again, if Sinclair hadn't also preempted the show, I would have said there's at least something sus going on with the fact that Nexstar wants to buy Tegna for $6.2 billion and increase their market share. That would be one thing. But that doesn't explain the advertisers calling Disney, and it doesn't include Sinclair. It doesn't address the fact that Sinclair is addressed with this as well.
We have another 20 from Shane H. Wilder. If Scott Wiener wants to break up Sinclair, then he will have to break up all of the cable/internet companies as they have been merging left and right to keep from going out of business. The Sacramento station was Tegna.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't aware of that.
Okay.
So that was targeted basically from
And
the
look,
left, it appears.
his ratings are going to be huge tonight and will probably stay big for about a week and then probably trickle back down to normal numbers. But he'll do big numbers tonight. I think he's got Gavin Newsom on tonight, so it's not political at all.
Yeah.
Not political at all.
Yeah.
He's just some governor, yeah.
Like, that'd actually be hilarious if he had Trump on for his first one back.
So
That's what he should have done.
his average ratings before all of this popped off were what? 129,000 live in the 18 to 49 demographic.
That is something that people have been obfuscating as well, which is that people are saying that he was getting 129,000 live viewers. That's not accurate. He was getting 129,000, if I remember correctly, in the 18 to 49 demographic, which is used for selling advertisements.
Yeah.
But even that's going to start shifting because nobody watches regular television under the age of 50.
Right.
Right?
You were mentioned in Media Matters for pointing that out.
Oh, I
actually.
don't even have it pulled up. Yeah, guys, I finally, I've made it in the world. I need to pull up the song, like, "Hey, look, Ma, I made it," because that was somehow I got mentioned in a Media Matters report for not. They said that I argued. They said. In an appearance on right-leaning show Timcast IRL, at least they didn't call it far right, podcaster Brett Dasovic argued that late-night TV ratings have been going down consistently. Well, that's not an argument. That's just a fact. And he added that Kimmel is number 2 in the ratings on late night next to Colbert, who has already been canceled because his ratings are garbage.
That's not an argument. That's also
true.
It's just true. Yeah.
But I do feel like I've made it now that
Yeah.
I've been mentioned by
awesome.
Media
You can be
Matters.
proud of that.
I need to get the SPLC and who else? The ACLU.
Yeah.
Somebody else needs to mention me, and then
We
I'll.
have another 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. What has not been publicized is that sponsors were pulling local spots from the ABC-owned and operated stations, most of whom are in large markets. ABC has been mum on the status of the actual spots purchased on the network.
And the thing is it is in Disney's best interest to stay mum about all of this, because they just get to let everybody else run with the narrative that makes it look like they were, quashed by Trump.
Still, I have to say, I don't really care how it happened or who prompted all of this.
Yeah.
Like, he's facing consequences for spreading a lie, a dangerous lie on air. It wasn't a joke. It was merely disguised as a joke by the fact that anytime he ends a sentence, they have to laugh because they have a sign that tells them to laugh. I don't really care if it were the FCC, which it demonstrably wasn't. I don't really care if it was the action of these affiliate stations, if it was a revolt from advertisers, or if it was Disney itself that made the decision to take him off the air. It doesn't matter, because the ultimate point is he should face consequences for lying.
Which, of course, they're not even being framed as lies. It's being framed as ill-timed comments, which is, of course... And again, he used weasel
but
words.
People are trying to get a gotcha moment on the right by saying that it's hypocritical for them to be offended by an off-color joke. It's
was
not
not
a
the
joke. And even if he were making an off-color joke, that's not the fundamental crux of the issue.
They're like, hey, you know what the joke is? You're a Nazi. Why are you offended by that?
I was talking to a journalist earlier today about this situation, and she tried to draw a false equivalency between off-color jokes that people on the right have made about various political violence, including a joke that Don Jr. made at the expense of Paul Pelosi.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is a distraction, because we're not having a conversation about offensive jokes right now.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation about the fact that he violated FCC guidelines, which he did. So this is just, you need to stop drawing comparisons between things that have nothing in common. And this journalist even said, in regard to Charlie Kirk, well, Charlie Kirk, he said that he was glad George Floyd died. And I said, I wasn't aware of that. Did he say he was glad that George Floyd died? That's interesting. I'm surprised to hear that. And she said, well, it wasn't that he said he was glad that George Floyd died. It was that he said he wasn't sad about it. And I was
Those
like,
are very different things.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, let me stop you right there, because this is exactly what we're mad about. You're lying.
Yes.
Like, all of you, you're
They can't help-
lying.
they can't help
and you don't
themselves.
even know that you're doing it. Like, it's sad. Like, they don't even know that they're lying. It's like breathing to them.
I also want to address this one tweet that I found very funny. This person says, Sinclair is refusing to air Kimmel. Disney should pull everything. First of all, before we go on, imagine taking a person, again, who's getting 129,000 in the key demo, and then pulling every show that you have that does good viewership on that principle. Right? He says they should pull High Potential, Abbott Elementary, The Rookie, Shifting Gears, 911, Will Trent, Grey's Anatomy, Dancing with the Stars. Pull them all. Pull them all. Leave a gaping hole in their schedule where their ethics aren't. Well, of course, they just air something else there. But this person says that's not how it works. The networks provide the shows to all affiliates. It is up to the affiliate to decide to carry it. They sell local advertising on these shows, and the advertisers have a big say in what is aired. In what is aired. Don't even think about touching my High Potential. I agree. That is my favorite show on television right now. Don't even think about touching High Potential. You leave it alone.
But you're
then
watching it on streaming.
I don't even watch it
Yeah.
on an ABC affiliate. I watch it on Hulu.
Right, exactly. Now, from Deadline, as of yesterday afternoon, Jimmy Kimmel's talks with Disney went down to the wire on Monday. They say Jimmy will say what Jimmy wants to say. There was always a desire to do the best thing for the company, for Disney, and the thoughtful conversations between Bob Iger, Dana Walden, and Jimmy Kimmel and his team. To that, the final sign-off on Kimmel's return to his show was made in the morning of Monday by Bob Iger and Dana Walden after a last-minute flurry of paperwork, texts, and calls with Team Jimmy. Having started the day after Jimmy Kimmel was preempted indefinitely over his remarks, the conversations among the principals continued over the weekend until the agreement was reached yesterday. Amidst protests outside Disney HQ and more direct attacks from Trump at Kirk's memorial on Sunday, whispers that something was up. The protest by Sarah McLachlan and others at last night's Lilith Fair documentary premiere in LA. Clearly, whatever compromise was reached was in Jimmy Kimmel's favor. A source said Jimmy Kimmel will say what Jimmy wants to say, and that presumably means that when he returns to his show tonight, he's not going to be making any concessions. He's not going to issue an apology. He's not going to admit any wrongdoing.
Which is, in theory, what he needed to do if he wanted to get back on those affiliate stations. And Disney says, okay, we'll just take a potential 40% drop in viewership because you don't want to apologize. Okay,
it'll be high.
That's the free market.
It'll be high viewership only because of the scandal. But once that wears off, what happens then?
I mean, I still think he comes. I still think he ends up back on the networks. Like I never imagined.
Probably.
I never for a second imagined this was a permanent banning. I imagined that it would be. I imagined it would be a week and then it would go back to normal as things always do. I tend to not believe that these things make for like long-term change, but who knows? Like his contract is up next year. Like, did they just not renew him and bring in somebody else?
Then. Yeah.
I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, this is just one of those conversations where everybody's got their own framing of the story and they're being disingenuous to pretend like this is some type of major attack on free speech.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.